Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Welcome, friend. I'm excited for this week's episode because it is a compilation episode, which means that we have pulled inspirational stories from past interviews and past clients to share all together with you in one episode today. And for me, I love listening to episodes like this. I love hearing from other people who are practicing manifestation, who are investing in themselves, who are, really going in and implementing the teachings and getting coached and creating transformation. And I love to hear what is possible on the other side of it. I always think of people like this as expanders, and it is so helpful to have expanders, which are basically people in the world who are creating things that you think would be fun to create, who are inspirational to you, or who have a mindset that is similar to what you want to embody. I love having examples of that, so I wanted to provide that to you today because I believe that everyone in this episode can be an expander for one of you. And I could say that about all of my past interviewees because they've all been amazing. But we've just pulled a couple of clips for you today to listen to for inspiration and expansion. So I really hope you enjoy this week's episode and that you lean into the fact that this could be possible for you. That, while everyone is special, everyone on this episode is super special, I also believe that you're special too. And you can create exactly what it is that you want. And universal laws work equally for everyone. It doesn't just work for that one person. Universal laws work for all of us who work them, right? So one of my favorite thoughts whenever I hear someone that I'm inspired by, or even sometimes whenever I hear someone that I'm jealous of, whenever I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. I want that result, or I want to manifest something like that. Instead of being jealous, I lean into the thought, if they can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. And I decide that they're an expander for me, right? So I want to offer that as well. That could be a fun mantra to lean into as you are listening to this week's episode. If they can do it, I can do it. Why not me, right? All right. I hope you enjoy it. Remember when you came in, you totally lost that belief that I can make money and felt like, I remember that was like, you felt like it was totally at the whim of whether someone signed up or not. And there was no empowerment there. And that shifted fairly quickly. So first tell me, where are you now, just 1 year later? You were at 200 a month, maybe.
Yeah, I would say if we're looking energetic set point, minimum, yep. I would say minimum 25,000, but yep. I've done more than that a few months as well, doing 35, 45,000 as well. But I feel like I'm I could close my eyes and sleep all month and still make at least 25, which is crazy considering where I was.
1 year later, how amazing. So what I want to talk about is, what were the shifts that occurred that allowed this to happen, that allowed you to go from 200 maybe a month, not feeling like your income was out of your control and there was a lot of worry and panic around it, to now you're just in this very peaceful, of course I'm going to make $20,000 minimum a month. What were some of the things and some of the shifts that took place throughout the year that really contributed to you being able to do this now and be in this place?
Yeah, so there's so many, but there's two that really stand out to me, and I think one of them was something that was like this, like I just feel like a gift you gave me before, and this was really the kind of like this transformation that I had that empowered me to sign up and start working with you. Was that I had just never considered that making money was something you could just learn how to do. Like, I just had
Mm.
always had this kind of belief that it was like for certain people or special people or people who'd been born into wealth or whatever, instead of thinking of it as just like a skill that I could learn. And I think that, like, again, I just had never considered that. And so when I signed up, it was just kind of this realization of like, oh, that's something that I could do. Then why don't I do that? And I think that
Yes.
that has really been something that I just continue to come back to, is like anytime I feel stuck. And then the second one that I would say is something that you've really helped me with is just realizing that, like, my brain is just always maybe going to be afraid that I'm not going to make money. Like, that's just something that it does. That's what our brains do. And I think just in realizing that pattern, it has given me a lot of space to then see it and to not think anything has gone wrong, because it's never the doubt that creates the lack of belief in making money. It's the like defeatism, I don't know if that's a word, but like the
Yeah.
defeatist attitude that comes with that, right? When it's like you
Yes.
stop believing, and then we're like, oh my God, now I can't do it. And from that place, then we stop taking the aligned action and doing the things that generate money. And so I think just kind of that combination of being like, oh, this is a skill that I can get good at, and my brain is always going to tell me that I'm going to run out of money. And just
Yep.
like how I thought that last time, I'm thinking that now, and I got out last time, so I'm going to get out of that now as well.
Yes.
So
And I also want to touch on
yes.
that making money is a skill that anyone can learn, that I wholeheartedly believe and of course teach y'all. It's like just something that most of us haven't been taught. We aren't taught this in school. Like, people don't tell us that this is a skill that you can learn and that it's really important to work on your thoughts about money because it really impacts your bottom line in business. So I'm curious, I'm going to just dig in and get curious with you. What do you think are some of the skills that you've mastered other than holding space for your like unconscious brain? But are there skills that you've learned or new thoughts that you've picked up that have really helped you in order to like make money?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest thing that came up is also, I think this was like maybe the second month that I was in your program, but where we really worked on feeling first. And really
Mm,
just like, I think that so much of this work does come down to your feelings and come down to, what you're feeling about like yourself and what you can create. And so getting into the feeling of safety, I feel like has been such an important skill for me because for me, and money's a resource, is the same as water is a resource, like something that we need to survive, right? So of course, when that feels threatened, it makes sense that then our body kind of goes into that fight or flight mode and stops having access to that creativity, that where we actually can create from and where we can put value into the world. And so I think for me, just being able to really master those feelings and be able to feel into what it would feel like first and what it feels like to have certainty even in rough times, or even when
yeah.
there are doubts around or whatever. I think that's been a skill. And then also just like I feel like you've something I love about coaching with you is like you're so great at helping us kind of see like our own genius and see our own like what works for us. And so for me, it's really about tapping into like my desires. And I really like, I feel like as soon as I have a desire for something, I'm able to create the money for it, whether
Mm,
that is saving or an expense or, whatever that is. I feel like being able to get really clear on that and clear on, my own process, but also just, I feel like you've really helped me, and helped me feel so empowered to trust my desires and to trust
yeah.
myself. And like that, honestly, like I feel like that level of trust is like what ultimately creates the money. If that makes sense.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And that kind of leads me into I want to like dissect your money making process or your manifestation process, because I always talk about this and share that it's like there's no one size fits all in terms of manifestation. So I give you all so many practices and ideas and thoughts and new things to try. And then your opportunity is always to try it on and see what fits and see what works for you. And you've found your manifestation process. So I want to dive into what that is for you. And you touched on one thing was, the feeling first. So another thing that we've talked about in the movement is to find your money-making emotion. Like, what is that feeling that you tap into that does allow you to make money? So do you know what your money-making emotions are?
Yes. So my money making emotions are the biggest one is sturdy, which is such a funny like word. I've never really heard people talk about that before in terms of making money, but I've used this example before, but my dream car has always been a Jeep Wrangler, and I finally was able to get my dream car this year, which is so exciting. Yes, exactly. And I really feel like it was for me getting the car, like all of this kind of ties together, is like what helps me make money is to think about when I'm in a Jeep and you hit, like I'm in Los Angeles, right? So I hit potholes all the time, and like being able to hit a pothole, but the car absorbs the shock, right? So it's like you can have a big hit and you still feel safe, you still feel secure, you still feel sturdy. And to me, that's the emotion that I have to lean into to make money, right? Where it's like, again, it's holding space for doubt, it's holding space for an unexpected expense, or whatever it is that life has thrown our way, and just still being able to hold space for the belief. So I think that's been a huge one. And then really just being able to tap into desire. Like, I think that that's a huge part of my process, is getting really clear on my desires and getting clear on, and I kind of like oscillate back and forth between big, like long-term desires versus what do I want this week? What am I trying to call in this week? In terms of money, but in terms of experiences and all of those things. And ultimately, I feel like once I get in tune with my desires and I give myself permission to want those things, then it's about tapping into that emotion of certainty and sturdy and stability, that like, even no matter what, if I'm hitting a pothole in life or whatever, then I can still create that desire. For me, I'm just a dreamer, right? Like I'm an artist as well, filmmaker. Like, so I think that that's what's exciting to me. But also part of the reason that I like that is because it really challenges my identity, and it challenges me to like make transformation in the fastest way possible. So I think for me, it's also about like what I'm kind of working on right now is feeling into those like 60 to 80K months, right? Like that 83 would be $1 million in a year. And just realizing that like that to me has a lot of weight and a lot of like identity wrapped up into it. But even as far as like, I mean, I'll just share this in case it's helpful for anyone on the podcast, especially when we're talking about like being in like a high vibe energy or whatever. Over this last year, not only was I, going like first year of being a mom, but I'm also going through a divorce. And like, that's just been like so challenging and emotional and heavy and things like that. And yet while I've been going through that has been like the most successful months of my business. Right. And so, but I think that all of that, the reason I was able to do it was because I had figured out kind of this process of like leaning into my desire, getting into that emotion, and also like really tackling the identity. So at that point it was, can I be like a rich single mom? Like my experience, and I like grew up, my mom was divorced before she married my dad, but like for her, she was evicted from her home. My sister was evicted from her home, like both of them when they became single mothers. And so for me, it really was about challenging the narrative of like, what does it look like to be a single mom, and like, can I bust through these upper limits in that way? And so I think that's kind of what's next for me. And it's been interesting. Like for me, I find the fastest changes when I attack the identity, which it also makes sense. That's what I coach my clients on as well, about like, to become a celebrity, you have to step into that, embody that identity. But I really do think that when you attack the identity, that's what kind of like transforms all the areas of your life, because it challenges our sense of self. And so it kind of becomes this like ego death. You kind of have to like burn the ships, burn who you are in order to become that next version. But instead of just focusing on a money goal or focusing on just whatever that is, whether it's a follower count or, any goal that you have, if instead you attack the identity, it's going to change all of the aspects of your life simultaneously. And just really like, it will reveal very quickly where your blocks are. So I feel like that's kind of been my secret hack, I guess, if that makes sense.
So good. So good. And that's why I love coaching so much and going after something big that you've never created before, because once you can do it in one area, all of a sudden you have the like special key. Now you're like, oh, I've changed my identity around money. Now, like, I know the path. That means that I get to do things differently in this area as a single mom, and I get to decide what my identity is. And it's just got such a big ripple effect. So I think it's like, it's so fun to have more money. Of course it is. It's amazing. But there's such a gift in like starting and doing that work, because the ripple effect is just massive. And I've seen that in you, and it's amazing and it's so inspiring. And one other thing that I really notice about you, Whitney, is you're so coachable. Like, when I say that, I mean, everyone's coachable, but what I mean is your brain is so coachable. It's like you're willing to change your thoughts. It's like, I notice that you're not like so grabbing on so tightly to an old identity or an old thought. You're like, because I've even mentioned things before. I'm like, why don't we give you a month to step into this new thought? You're like, oh no, by next week, I got this. So I'm just curious, do you have a thought that allows you, or a belief, like what is it that allows you to take on new thoughts without, so I just noticed you don't have a lot of resistance to it. Like you'll just step into a new thought. You'll decide what you want to believe and you go for it. Do you know? I don't know if anyone's asked you this. I'm just curious because I love it.
That's a really high compliment. So I appreciate that. And it's funny because even at the beginning of this call, when you're like, you've made these changes so quickly, I'm like, have I? It feels slow to me. But then I also, just this morning when I was on the treadmill, I was doing this exercise kind of to just show my brain what I'm capable of. And as I'm stepping into these this new identity of like being a millionaire, I've been looking back at, okay, what are some other things I didn't believe that I could do, and how did I get out of it? And I do think that a lot of this for me has just been, I have so many reps in of coaching myself and having new identities and having new things, that like, because when I was thinking about it, I was like, let me think about something 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and that I didn't think I could do. And now I did. And when I was thinking about the things from 10 years ago, I was like, oh yeah. And then it took me a couple of years to be able to create this result. Whereas when I was thinking about, a result recently, I was like, oh yeah, that took me like 3 weeks to be able to create. Yeah. Right. So, yes. But I don't know. I mean, maybe this is not giving myself enough credit, but I do feel like I've been knocked around enough by life lately that it's just kind of like, all right, we'll keep going. And, having just so many identity shifts back to back about, becoming a mom, then becoming, or being pregnant, all of those things I do think has made my brain pretty malleable. And just kind of willing to be like, all right, well, I've done things in the past that blew my mind, so I can probably do that with this too.
An amazing program, like, because I'm working with Jamie, I had access to all the course material already. And, I was in it for like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to everything, and then I was like, is it okay if I join the movement to receive coaching from you?
I know. I'm like, wait, Danijela, you already have access to it.
Yeah, but like I wanted access to the coaching because that is where all the gold happens, right? Like even before you launched the movement, you shared all the videos with me, and I would listen to them as I was cooking dinner, and I was already manifesting and had like the biggest month of my business just listening and like taking in the curriculum and the material. But then the coaching just added another layer to it. So I'm really grateful that you said yes. I would have understood if you said no, but I was like, I'm looking for a coach for next year. For like, this was in 2022. I'm looking for a coach for 2023. Who is it going to be? Who should I hire? And then I was like, well, she's right in front of you, you dummy. Just ask.
I love it.
So yeah, if you're thinking about the movement, definitely join, because the program is amazing. Like amazing. And the community is just the best. Like I've made I've told you that before.
Quick commercial break to say it is officially time to stop hustling and to start receiving. And guess what? The good news is the money manifestation movement is officially open. And if you join by this Friday, not only are you going to get $500 off the price of the program, but you're going to get some incredible, big, exclusive summer bonuses as well. But you gotta join by Friday to take advantage of this. Now, here's the thing. The money manifestation movement is not just a course. It is a complete energetic upgrade. It's a powerful coaching container and a safe and expansive community where you are going to grow so much. So I want you to imagine where you could be by 2026, if you decide to invest in yourself, invest in your money mindset, and really decide to transform this area and get the support that you need to do it, you're going to be confident. You could be debt free, feeling more abundant, feeling deeply aligned with the work that you do. So now is the time to join. Head on over to jamieberman.com and go to the page, The Money Manifestation Movement. If you join us by this Friday, you're going to get $500 off and some incredible bonuses. So my friend, let's make the second half of 2025 your turning point. I can't wait to see you inside.
You're really good at manifesting people. So the Soulful Six-Figure Mastermind, I still like, they're some of the coaching friends that I'm going to have probably for the rest of my life. And then also in the movement, you're just really good at manifesting amazing people. And then we can do so much together in the world.
Thank you. That's one of my intentions. I love bringing community together and people together. I think it's so much more powerful when we're doing this work together.
To me, the process of manifestation, the way I like to call manifestation is co-creating with God, right? Like we're just simply letting ourselves work together with God so that he can bring into creation what he wants created in the world. Yeah. And we're doing this thing, I call it the dance, where God's like sitting in the car, he's driving, I'm sitting right next to him, I'm the co-pilot, and I have to show up in order to move the thing as well, right? But to me, the process of manifestation involves 4 steps. And the first one is trust. The very first one is learn to trust that first he's put that desire in your heart, that he's going to show up for you, that he loves you more than anything. And then the second one is surrender. And that one has been one of the hardest ones to get used to. I think the trust has come a little bit easier in that he's never failed me.
Yeah.
But the surrender part is hard because I think our humanity is like, no, I want to take control and lead the thing and move the thing forward so that I can get there faster. And we think we're going to get there faster if we're in control, but we don't. It just moves a lot slower.
Yeah.
And so, the next part is surrender. And then the third is believe, and the fifth is receive. But those are like 4 steps that I think it beautifully sums up manifestation when he's in the middle. Is like you trust that he's gonna show up for you, that he's guiding you. Yeah. And that surrender, I think, is a big piece of like putting it to him into what the timing is going to be, the way that it's going to happen, and how. The beautiful how of how it's going to happen.
So it sounds like you had developed the trust, or you already, that felt solid for you, but it was the surrender piece that you had to work with. And how is it that you did that when it came to even the podcast specifically?
Yeah. So I think I had it with different areas of my life. So I was just looking at the evidence that I had so far. But honestly, I think it was a trial and error, because at least with the podcast, I started the podcast with scripting everything and putting everything perfectly together. And what I started feeling is that I felt insanely restricted. Yeah. And I just could not function. And then I sounded like a machine. I'm like, and then it took me like 7 hours, I remember, to record and edit the very first.
Wow. That's some dedication.
It was awful. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, something is wrong. Like this cannot be this difficult. Yes. And then I just remember praying about it. And God is like, it's not you who's showing up. Like, I'm going to be there with you. Yeah. It's like, you can trust that I'm going to give you what you're going to talk about, and then that's going to come through. And but the thing is, like, we practice, right? It doesn't just come. It came with the trial and error of like, this is way too much work for what I signed up for. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to take a step back. So what I started doing was, I remember I was like bullet pointing everything to try to have a little control. But then I little was like, okay, what happens if I just let go?
Yeah.
And so I just got curious. And then I remember I was like, okay, God, what do you want to talk about today? And you just give it to me. The manifestation podcast was that way. It's like this whole last week was all about manifesting.
Wow.
So go.
Yes. Yes.
And and then like you just practice that, and I think it just grows little by little. I don't think it's
Yeah,
it's not a
100%. Yep. And that's the way that I try to approach it and coach on it. Like you said, it grows little by little. So it's not like you have to go from like totally scripting something out for 7 hours, to like just channeling it, opening yourself up right. Like, but it's like, what if I could trust just 1% more? What would 1% more of surrender look like? And over time, then you develop that. And then you see that you can trust it. And like you said, that evidence really helps too, once you start seeing that you can actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're being provided, because I think the evidence piece is such a big thing when you're in the process of manifesting that dream or that goal.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, that's a huge thing. Like, you're just counting every bit of it. And I know that sometimes it's hard because we're like, oh, we're not there yet. But to me, it just blows my mind how when you just let go of it, he gives it to you. Like, it's just so much easier to just let go and trust and just know that it's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Why do you think people leave? And I know in terms of my listeners, I have a wide variety of listeners. Some people are religious, some people are not religious, some people are more spiritual than others. And I mean, overall, I would say everyone's probably slightly spiritual at least, and open to it because manifestation. But for those that do have faith in God or a higher power, or think of it as like universal love, however it resonates for you. And I'm just wondering, in terms of your clients, like, why do you think people forget about God and leave God out of certain things?
I think it's that need of control. I think it's our fallen humanity of wanting to fix it ourselves. And I think that's one of the mistakes that I heard a lot before I got into manifestation. And I also believe that manifestation was all about ourselves, like figuring it out on our own.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible misunderstanding.
Totally.
But I think that is the part of it, is because it is so hard to just simply let go.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going through a rough time, you just want to hold on to it. But I think we forget that God is for us, not against us.
Yes.
Like, he is protecting us. He's guiding us. He's loving us. He's providing. And I think that's the mistake, is like believing. I think that's what happens, is we believe we're on our own. We have to fix it on our own.
Totally.
And I think that's the main thing, is that we forget that God is an all loving God.
Yes, 100%. And I mean, I know that even for myself, like, I would forget that I could bring it into everything, whether, with manifestation, with God, with my spirituality. It's like, I had, for most of my life, I would bring it into all of these areas of my life and manifest incredible things, and had just, it brings so much when you have that in your life. But there were certain areas I left it out of, like with initially my relationship with my body and weight loss. Like, no, I have to do that on my own. And that's hard. Also with business, also with my relationship with money. It's like, I left it out of those things and almost forgot that I have this superpower and this resource that I can bring in.
Kind of a big resource too.
Yeah, I guess that's what you call it. Like, the most incredible resource of all time that I'm not even utilizing. And it's like, I noticed, because it was like after that 100K year where I really burnt myself out and I really kind of hustled my way there. I did a lot of mindset work, but I did not bring my spirituality. I didn't bring God, and I didn't bring manifestation into it. And I made that shift after that year, and my business has completely changed since then. So I think it's a good question, if you're a person of faith, to ask yourself, where am I leaving this out? I think that's one of the most powerful questions. And how can I bring it in?
Yeah. Yeah. Because in everything, we can bring him in absolutely everything, and everything just gets so much easier. Like, I cannot imagine my relationship with my husband without him in the middle,
Yeah.
or my motherhood without him in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy, for example, in our business, to leave him out of the picture, because it's like, well, this is our business. We're supposed to figure it out.
Yeah.
And truly it's not. I just had a moment this past week where I was in doing my holy hour, and I'm like, God, why have you not, like, I'm like, I want you to bless my business. And he like popped in my head. It's like, you haven't asked me to.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then it's like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not asked him to. And what
yes.
blows my mind is that when I trust him, he just shows up and gives me the
Yes.
thing. I just had it a couple of weeks ago, and this was the podcast that I did, because I had it in my head. I want to take a trip before my third baby's born, and I'm like, I want to take a trip with my girls, and I had planned it, and I planned it some more, but I did not ask him anything.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, we were looking into it, and somehow our cabin that we had rented was in the middle of absolutely nowhere and 7 hours from here. And I'm 7.5 months pregnant. So I'm like, this is a terrible idea. So that night, we're like, okay, God, you know what? Like, you take care of it, because
Yep.
if we are supposed to have a trip, we're going to take it. And that night, we signed up to go to Florida in a month. And it was like way cheaper than going to Missouri, which is
Oh
insane.
my gosh.
And then we
I'm from
rented.
Missouri. I would take Florida.
I know. And then no, and then we're like 3 minutes away from the beach. Could not have planned it better. And it was not something that I didn't expect to be able to go and do, but God is like, okay, thank you. I got it from here.
Yes.
You know?
So I want to hear a little bit about that before, and what you were
Okay.
trying and why it wasn't working.
Totally. So the first thing I tried to do was just do it all by myself.
Okay.
The first thing I tried was, I was like, okay, great. I'm certified as a life coach. I should just be able to just start a business. And I very quickly realized I didn't know what a consultation was. I didn't know how much I should charge. I was just trying to find all the right answers from other programs. So I joined one program, and then I joined another one. And I was like, okay, maybe if someone just lays out exactly how it's supposed to happen, then I can just follow it. And maybe that'll be the thing. That I felt like there must be some kind of secret that somebody had of how to do it that was going to be the answer. So I kept joining all these programs thinking, okay, this one didn't have the answer. Maybe I'll join this one, and that one will have the answer. And again, it was just very hustly. It felt very hustly to me. I just kept trying to shift what I was doing in order to change what was being created. And in my brain, logically, that made sense. Logically, it made sense that, okay, if I'm not getting the result, then it must be because I'm doing something wrong. But that I did not have the emotional capacity to do that for very long. And very quickly I was like, this isn't working. And I was like, I need to find a coach, because my head is just not in the right space. And that's when I found you. And I was very just immediately attracted to your energy. It was all from a photo. I was like, I love this girl. I don't know what she does. I think at that time your website hadn't been updated, and because you used to coach on PCOS and like weight loss. And I think your website was still that.
Yeah.
And I went and I was like, I don't care what this girl coaches on. Like, I'm pretty sure it's business, because that's how I found her. And I was like emailing you, and I was like, can I buy you yesterday? Like, I need to spend money and I need you in my life. And when I started working with you, which you were obviously a business coach, and you showed me, even just in the consultation, was so powerful, because you showed me where I was now, and you're like, okay, where do you want to go? And it became so clear. And you were like, look, here's the only things in the way. And it was all my thoughts and feelings. And I was like, that was such a powerful shift for me. And ever since then, that has, working with you has been the thing that keeps bringing me back to every result that you create is entirely from you, from your energy, your thoughts, your feelings. And my brain very much wants to go back to the how and do all the things still to this day. And every time I'm with you and I coach with you, every coaching call I have, you're always bringing me back to thoughts, feelings, energy. And that's what shifts. And when I come back to that, that's when I start seeing a shift in my business and the results that I create.
Yes, 100%. And this is totally why two people can be doing the exact same things in terms of action, right? Like you said, you
Yes.
were DMing all the people, you were following what they told you to do. And they're like, if
Yeah.
you do this, your business will grow. But the reason there's no results is because of the thoughts and the energy that's behind it. So what do you think that energy was before, that was behind the actions that you were taking before we started working together, that allowed, because if you could potentially do those actions with a different energy and get results. So what do you think the
Totally.
energy is that doesn't work?
For sure. So for me, one of them was like desperation. Like
Yeah.
I was like, I was very desperate to find a solution. Again, I also thought it was a problem. I thought that my business should be different than it was, that I should be making more than I was. And that was like an issue. And because it was a problem, then I like wanted an immediate solution. So I was very desperate. And that doesn't come off well to other people. And the other thing was, when this is what we spent like the whole first year working on, which was such a powerful shift for me, was learning how to learning how to detach from the goal, right? Learning how to detach from from the result that I wanted to create, right? Like learning how to hold a goal of, having $100,000 business, making $100,000, but not needing to have it. And that was not an energy that I was in. I was in very much a graspy, needy, I want these people to buy from me. I need to get clients in order to feel, like a successful business person, and like I can coach and all of these things. And when I was in that energy, that is when none of the things that I was doing were working.
Yes. I remember that, right? Your relationship with your goal was like probably the biggest thing we worked on. And once that shifted, like whoosh, things started. I mean, you were getting results right when we started. I feel like you started signing clients right away, but it's like things really opened up for you. I also think just energetically it opened up where you felt more free in yourself whenever you stopped being so attached to the goal. So what do you think changed there? Like, how did you start seeing the goal differently that started to serve you? Versus before, like you said, you were attached to it. You made it mean something about you. I remember you used to say like, well, what's the point of the goal if we're not striving for it? If it's not hard, right? Like you were like so confused.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't understand it. My brain just was like, well, then why even have goals? I think the biggest thing that helped me was learning this was a concept that you taught me, was really learning how to step into my future self. And this was such a powerful shift for me. And what it looked like for me was, the first 6 months of my business. So the first year, right? I started in July of 2020. From July to December, I made $12,000.
Yeah.
The next year, I made $65,000, and I switched from one-on-one coaching to group coaching. So I started working way less. Yeah. And the shift that happened for me that made that possible was, rather than seeing myself as a coach who made $12,000, is I started to see myself and believe that I was a 100K coach, and making decisions from that energy, right? From the energy of like, this is inevitable. It's happening already. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't need to know how. That just created a space internally where I could show up and serve and not need the result to happen in order for me to feel a certain way. Does this make sense?
Yes, 100%. Totally. That's it. Where it's like we have to, and this is so hard for the brain to get this, but, and that's why we've coached on it and everything, but it like landed for you, where it's like, you really cannot look at your current reality and your current circumstances to determine who you are or what your identity is, because you were already past that. But it's like the results just have to catch up. If we think of how manifestation works or how the model works, what comes first? Thoughts come first, right? Thoughts
Right.
come before results. But for some reason, the way that our brain is wired, we just so badly want the results in order to believe something about ourselves. So it makes so much sense at the moment you were like, you know what? I am a 100K coach. That's just who I am. It doesn't matter what my circumstance is. It doesn't matter what the account says right now.
Yes.
That's who I am. And I'm living from that place. And that's when the results start to follow. Right?
Yes.
They just happen
and
a
let me
little
just
bit,
throw
right?
out there that like I'm still learning this. Like we coached on this yesterday, right?
We all are,
so
Jolene.
I made like yes, ladies, like everybody listening to this podcast, like this is not something that I have like a skill in now. Like I haven't just like, oh, I got it once and now I'm good. I am like constantly needing Jamie in my life to remind me of this, and I'm up leveling it now. So last year. So I made $65,000 that year, and the following year, so last year, 2022, I made $100,000, which was amazing.
Yes.
But it felt like, oh, of course, because I had already become the person who could make $100,000. And so this year I was like, great, I'm going to up level and make $300,000. And lo and behold, here comes again, my brain just like graspy and needy and wanting the results in my bank account to prove that it's going to work, to prove that it's happening. And again, I'm learning again how to let that go and how to step into and practice being that 300K coach. And when I practice that, when I allow myself to really believe harder, because that's what it takes. It takes believing harder when you don't have results. It's easier to believe. This is why our brain wants results first. It's easier to believe when we have proof, when we have evidence. It would be easy for me to believe that I could make $300,000 if I'd already done it. If there were $300,000 in my bank account, then my brain would say, well, yes, of course you can make it. But until then, it's harder. I just have to believe in myself, in my ability, in the universe bringing it to me, in God helping me out, in all of the pieces working together. And that's harder to believe. Like it just takes a little more oomph. And my brain doesn't like that. It takes a little more work and my brain is lazy. And so my brain wants to just wait for the results first. And then I'll believe. And so we coached on this yesterday, is just shifting this in my head now to becoming the 300K coach, becoming the woman who brings that in and attracts it versus trying to grasp it in order to feel like it's possible.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Gold right there. And you're so right. Every level we forget. We're like, right. Cause then it's like when we achieve the thing, we're like, ooh, we're in that energy of, ooh, I created the 100K, right? I'm a 6-figure coach. I did it. And then to go to the next level, sometimes we think the process is different. Like, I know that's for me. I'll be like, oh, well, I hit 500, but 500K in order to hit 1 million, I have to change everything. And the process is going to be so different. And, our brain it forgets. That's why we have coaches, right? Because we have to be reminded over and over. And the good news is like, once you've done the process once, not that it's easy to do it again necessarily. It still takes our brain, like it takes energy for our brain to believe in the unseen. But at least when we have done it once, there's some evidence. And when we have some evidence, we're like, okay, I've done it once. This is the path. So you keep reminding yourself and it's a little easier to trust, right?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. So good. So good. So, one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because I just love your passion and I love what we were talking about yesterday so Jolene's in the Soulful 6-Figure Mastermind. And on our call, we were talking about what works. Like I'm always asking my clients, what works? Because we tend to forget, even myself, I tend to forget. I have to constantly come back and ask myself, what works for me? What is it that lights me up? Why am I doing this? Why am I showing up for this business and creating this wild thing, right? Like getting back to that. And as you shared yesterday, I just had chills because I could feel how true it was for you, how passionate you are. So I want to hear a little, just like if you're willing to share what works. What is it that allows you to attract clients versus having to go and push and sell and try and hustle?
Yeah. The thing that works for me the most is really, again, just like you were just saying, is remembering why I do it in the first place. it's very easy in business, even if you start with the best of intentions or for the greatest purpose in mind, when you're running a business day to day, it's very easy to get wrapped up in the details. Okay, emails and marketing and launching and programs and pricing and consults and all of those little details. And for me, it's very easy to get lost in those details, and that turns me inward. Mm-hmm. And that turns my energy inward and my focus inward. And when I'm inwardly focused, then I get very graspy, very needy, very much in, oh my gosh, here's what I'm doing and what I need or what I want. And that's when I feel like I need other people or circumstances to change so that I feel better. And the thing that is the biggest shift for me, like we were talking about yesterday, is the thing that really enables me to release all of that and then start attracting things and make my business so much easier is when I'm not thinking about myself at all. Like, yes, the details still need to get figured out, but that's not my focus. My focus is my clients, my podcast listeners, my followers, the women that are still out there that I haven't reached yet. It's like, what do they need? Where are they? What are they struggling with? What can I do to help them and serve them? And when I'm in that place of service, which you talked about in one of your first podcast episodes, you were talking about like how service is really the really one of the keys to having a successful business, is that because it enables you to look outside of yourself, and that is a very different energy. It's an expansive energy when you're in service. And when I'm in that energy, it's way easier for ideas to flow, and I get way more creative and I attract way more people, and I just love my business so much more. And when I love my business more, I put more into it naturally, and then I get more results. So it sounds like you should be focused on yourself and like, okay, be really clear on this goal because that's what's going to drive you to do it. But when I forget myself and I focus on serving, that's actually when I see the biggest results in my business.
Totally. It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. 100%. And it feels so much better, doesn't it?
So much better. Oh, it's so much easier. Yeah. Like, and I can't figure out why I keep forgetting it. Like my brain literally forgot. My brain is always, this is why I need Jamie so much in my life. My brain always goes to like, okay, but what can we change or do? What kind of action can we take in order to make it work? And my brain always wants to do that. Always wants to go to like, how, do, change something. And you're always bringing me back to energy, flow, service. It like naturally will create the results you're looking for.
Yes. And you're not alone, Jolene, as you know, with, our whole group, we're all right. Everyone's in the same boat, which is why it's so healing. I think being in like an intimate group like that, because 100%. You can see everyone's brain is exactly the same. We all do it. Helpful. And we all just need coaching to come back to it, because that's what egos do. And that's what it's like, the part of our brain that, I always think about this, like that likes logic and wants to understand the how and thinks there's a right way to do it, right? That part of our brain just doesn't understand energy. It doesn't understand dropping into our heart to create results. It doesn't understand dropping into service. So it just easily forgets. And that's so normal. And that's why we just keep coming back. We keep bringing it back. It's totally fine, right? Yeah. And that part of our brain does serve us in a lot of ways because it can execute amazingly, right? Yeah. When we are in service, we just have to be careful that we're not letting that run the show all the time.
100%. I think that was, again, one of the biggest shifts for me. The year that I went from 12K to 65K, I had so many, and this was right when I started coaching with you. I was like, okay, you're like, all right, what do you want to do this year? And I was like, I want to make $100,000. Am I allowed? Can I have that goal? Is that a dumb goal? Is that too crazy? And you were like, great. If that's what you want, let's figure out why you want it and let's go after it. And then you helped me set up my business in a way that felt like me. Because again, one of the things that I kept trying to do was find the right way to do it. What's the right way to run your business? And I kept doing all these programs that literally would map it out. They were like, send this many emails. Here's exactly what to say. Here's a script. Here's all the things you need. And I tried it and I was like, this feels terrible. This does not feel like me. And so again, that was another thing with the energy is when it didn't feel like me, I felt like it was fake. And then I wouldn't get the results because it didn't feel or come from a place that was genuine, and people can feel that, right?
Yeah.
So even though my desire or my intention to help was genuine, the way I was going about it didn't feel like me. And you helped me align it. And you're like, okay, well, how many clients do you want to have? How many hours a week do you want to work? Rather than, okay, well, let's figure out, all right, if you want to make $100,000, you have to work so many hours. You have to coach it this way. And that's what enabled me to, I have 5 kids, they homeschool, I'm with them all day. And it enabled me to set up a business where I work 10 hours a week and still make $100,000 and be there for my kids, and enabled me to create a life that wasn't what was on the cookie cutter sheet, but feels so much more like me and so much easier. And that's what enables me to love it even more and show up for it even more and create even more results.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.